lucky it's not just me talking. So can Greg, Jack, and Adam join me on stage, please?
Perhaps we'll just give a little introduction to the panel alongside Maris. Adam Reutersward is the co-founder of Spelfriten, one of Sweden's leading treatment organizations for gambling problems. Adam brings lived experience, now works with families, young adults, and policymakers on prevention. Craig Cornforth is the Senior Business Development Manager at Epic Global Solutions and a lived experience expert. Recently elected to the board of the International Gambling Counselor Certification Board, and Craig works across education, prevention, and recovery. And Jack Metcalfe, who's a UK lived experience firefighter advocate focused on prevention, youth risk, and the intersection of gambling and gaming. And Maris is here to moderate and take us through our first discussion. Maris, thanks so much. It's called A Changing World and Lived Experience.
So, hi everyone, thank you. I always love to do this panel because I'm always joined by amazing individuals. We can study a lot about the topic, but these are the real experts who've been through it and actually have lived experience on the topic. So I have a few questions. The first one, I was thinking, you know, the gambling landscape is changing dramatically. From when you began gambling, what is the main difference that you see? And I'm gonna pick on Greg because I know he loves to talk. So.
Not just because I'm the oldest, Maris. Morning, everyone. Great to be back again. And an interesting question, I think, to start with. Great examples of different age groups between ourselves, and we'll hear from Jack in a moment. But I think the biggest change from somebody who thoroughly enjoyed gambling was a punter customer for 30 years before it became remotely problematic for me, is the two things, I think. Lack of friction, I think, for today compared to when I started gambling. You know, my original sort of start in gambling, if you like, would be in a bookmaker's, a high street bookmaker's, which would mean you would have to physically visit the place. And I think even on the way there, it gives you a little bit of breathing space to make decisions whether this is something you want to do. I can even almost remember the idea of going through that door into a place that was essentially just full of old men, really, when I started. It was almost a mystical place, you know, with hidden windows that you couldn't really see in. I found it interesting to have a wander around Brussels last night and see a few high street bookmakers which aren't too dissimilar to what they were like when I started gambling, really. And it's gone almost full circle with regulation. So, and then you would need to then learn how to place the bet almost. You're handing physical cash over. You're speaking to a person. So I think I was giving more options to decide whether this product, this game of chance was a thing that I wanted to do. And it absolutely was. Whereas today, I think the sign-up time is now something like 12 seconds. From thinking about it, to signing up, to placing your first bet, to probably getting your first promotion. So I think that's the enormous change that's in there.
What do you think, Adam?
Yeah, I can recognize a lot of what Craig is saying, and also one big difference from when I started my gambling journey, and I ended it for like 10 years ago. But it was also this, when I started gambling, I was in my early teens, and it was not so fast to also loan money. If my money was out, I had to go to a physical bank office and say, I need some new money. And they were like, okay, fill in those forms and we get back to you in like 2 weeks. And in the end of my gambling career, or what you would say, then it was just from my mobile phone, and I got the money in a couple of minutes directly on my account. So everything goes so fast, and I think that's the most scary part. And also, everything is digital. As you were saying, Craig, those physical stores you went into, it was exactly the same for me, but in the end, I gambled like 24/7 from my bed when I was supposed to sleep. From the mobile phone, it's so easy to do it 24/7 without anyone noticing it. My family didn't know because everyone is sitting with the phone. They don't know if you're like doing Facebook or YouTube, or if you actually play poker or online casino.
Yeah, I would probably just kind of mirror what the guys have said, to be honest. Obviously, it was a little bit different for me because my first interaction with our bookmakers was 16 and I went into the shop. So I probably only had maybe a year of a difference of before kind of online went to the stature that it did. So yeah, that year for me in a way was kind of just going into a shop and kind of experiencing it for the first time and being mesmerized by how many TVs there were, how many different things you could bet on, slot machines, like, yeah, it just opened your eyes massively. So I think that was like the early introduction. And obviously when I turned 17, 18, that was kind of when online went pretty big. So that, like, happening to you at 18, it was such an easy thing to walk into, going from just being a bookmaker to being opening your phone and you could bet straight away. So that was kind of hard to adjust to probably straight away because of how easy the access was and how quickly everything could change drastically. But I would definitely say that now anyway, there's so much more like advertisements and you're so exposed to gambling as a whole now, and obviously the marketing has to be there. But for me, for example, I can't like watch a football game anymore unless it's my own team. I can't. If I was to watch like every football game on a Saturday or a Sunday, for example, I would just fall back into my old habits, and it's the exact same with gaming. If I went back to opening loot boxes and playing FIFA, for example, opening packs, eventually I would slip into my old ways. So that's just something that I cannot do anymore.
And I can imagine it's, as Professor Mary Aiken mentioned, everything is digitized nowadays. I mean, once I teach cyber psychology at University of Malta, and I just asked for a pen once, and everyone just looked at me like, pen? Like everyone is there with their writing tablets, like, what are you speaking about? And I'm there with my little notebook. And in fact, in Spelfriheten, didn't think I would get that right, you work a lot with younger people, and you help them, especially to try and diminish this harm. Do you see any triggers or behaviors now that it's becoming more digitalized?
Yeah, we have actually, with funds from FDJ, what we are really grateful for, to actually visited a lot of schools, both middle and high schools, in the beginning of the year, and we keep on doing it because there are a lot of like national reports that saying that a lot of youngsters in Sweden under 18, that's the law for being able to gamble, have increased a lot. And when we are out in the schools, we do this anonymous Mentimeters questioning to the students, and a lot of them tells us how it actually are right now, and they are telling a lot of the, as you were saying, Jack, with social media, the influencers, you have like Kik and Twitch, and a lot of channels that they can actually look on their idols, influencers, and they can show up like 24/7 and just look on how easy it is when you, for instance, checking out their idols, buying bonus games on their favorite slot machines, and you can see in just some seconds you win a lot of money, and those kind of things. It's easier for young guy who is 15, 16 to think, oh, this is so easy. But if, for instance, if I was like 30 years old or 25 years old, I maybe would say, okay, obviously it's not that easy, but a lot of the young people we meet, they are like telling their parents when they have been gamble away a lot of money, they're like, but I did it because it was so easy. And also one other stuff, just an example, you have one of the most popular slots machines named the Pirates It's very big around the world, and in Sweden, I think it's in different countries also. You have like a trend called feeding the birds, when a lot of young guys doing like a silly dance, playing this game on while they film themselves, and they put it up on TikTok. And a lot of the guys coming up to us on this education lesson, they are saying like, I don't want to gamble, but all the cool guys in my class on the breaks, they're like, okay, come on guys, let's go and feed the birds. And I don't want to be outside the box. So it's many new type of trends that is pretty scary.
And I think sometimes when you look into regulation and marketing, regulators might still be focusing on TV adverts, sports adverts, but kids are actually seeing most of the time. I mean, my kids don't watch TV. They don't know what it means to wait for an advert, not even like the single, you know, they just go ahead. And I think some of the great work that Epic does is how you bridge lived experience with policy. From your perspective, from your work, what do you see like as the biggest worry, though, for this young generation?
I try not to focus on the biggest worry, if the truth be told. It's, you know, I am a very positive person. I think I found both points struck home massively with me. I've got a soon-to-be 15-year-old stepson who I love dearly, who came into my life when he was 8 years old, and he knows my story of gambling. We speak very openly about it. But he tells me the same things that Jack and Adam have said, the peer pressure side of it, you know, that it's a tricky age, that sort of age, and I think we should probably be harnessing them to be giving them information on how to do things in the correct manner, as opposed to marketing it in a different way. Briefly, on the work that we do at Epic, and it is obviously all either directly from lived experience or certainly you know, consulted through. We've spoken to, forgive me if the number's not absolutely correct, but something in the region of 85,000 kids in the last 5 years through industry-funded events and being able to go into assembly rooms and into classrooms. And we've had to change how we even do that now. And an exercise that our guys and girls who do it used to do would be, they would come into sometimes a hall as large as this with not as well-behaved people as this, you can imagine, with maybe 300 children of 13, 14 years old. And the first question to sort of invigorate and include the kids used to be, can you name a gambling operator? Well, we've stopped doing it now because it would take too long. So it used to be the kids at that age who you could argue maybe should know one or two, but it's football, it's whatever sport it is. They can list some that even our facilitators have never heard of before. And that is through social media, through wherever it comes, certainly through the peer pressure that you described so brilliantly there. But I think it rubber stamps every time we have these sort of discussions that it isn't just lived experience that's important, it is vital. Jack should be enormously proud of himself at the level he's at already be going out trying to help. But we need to learn from the kids as well. You know, we need to, I don't think restricting or stopping anything's ever worked in any way, shape or form. Still doesn't work for me now. But it's, yeah, in terms of the you know, the changes that we see and the work that we do, we get nothing but positive feedback from the people who work with us. I know we've spoke briefly about the work that Adam does in Sweden. So it's days like today, I suppose, which makes it more important for us to realize that it's you know, a positive thing, really.
And to be fair, gaming is fun.
It is?
Yeah. It is.
Yeah.
I love gaming. We have a PS5 at home. We play. It's the best way sometimes to spend time without wanting me to strangle the kids. It's lovely. It's fun. But what we're seeing is that some games, obviously they have, for example, loot boxes or football coupons. And going to you, Jack, I mean, this looks almost harmless. I know a lot of parents who would say, yeah, you know, instead of giving him pocket money, I'm just going to buy him a loot box.
Yeah, and I think kind of that's where the misconception is really, because to begin with, I started football coupons when I was 14, and then by the time I was 16, I was actually in like a bookmaker's. But when I walked into the bookmakers for the first time, I had no idea what a slot machine was. Never even seen one in my life, apart from when you're at a caravan holiday or something like that. But when I used to play game and I used to open packs, for example, or loot boxes, I started playing slot machines, and the similarities when you were playing them were like more or less mirror images. They're so. It was weird because I walked in and I actually felt safer playing the games than I did betting on random things. So that's the stage where people kind of need to understand that these two are like so similar, and they actually do go hand in hand. You look at, like, if you compare them together, slot machines and then the gaming, randomized outcomes, the flashing lights, the addiction probability, they all mirror each other, and it's very, very easy to go from gaming straight into casinos, slot machines. And I think that's the transition that people need to start being a little bit more aware of, that kids can get into these games so early, and it's only getting them into habits and bad habits, and probably needs to be spoken about a little bit more, that these kids can start these games so early, and by the time they're 17, 18, they could be losing thousands within minutes. And yeah, it's something that kind of parents need to be looking out for as well, because if we keep neglecting it the way we do and keep enforcing that, oh, it's safe, when the reality is it's not.
Yeah. I still remember when my eldest was 6, he wanted to download Roblox. And it was because of peer pressure. And everyone at school was playing Roblox, and I thought, I'll test it first. I'm a bit paranoid. And when I downloaded it, used his date of birth, at one point in the lobby, I could play casino-style games. I could play blackjack. I could play poker. Obviously, it wasn't with real money, but as you're saying, like, it can give them an illusion of control. So we have social media, we have influencers, we have 24/7. So we have quite a few high-risk situations that when we started 8 years ago, we wouldn't have even thought about it. And going into, obviously, something that we had been talking about with Epic quite a few years ago was more data-driven detection. So what positives maybe or negatives, you can focus on the positives since you're an optimist, but what positives or negatives do you see maybe when it comes to data-driven detection and what we can do, Craig?
I think it's absolutely vital. I mean, the notes I've made from Professor Higgins' talk earlier before, I can't wait to speak to her about it. Adam and I both had the same sort of underlined so many things. It's really, really important, AI. It's brilliant. I use it in my everyday life, and it can, without a shadow of a doubt, obviously, and I analyze it or train an AI for a tier 1 operator from a lived experience perspective, and I look at the data from it. The data can give you the numbers in mass amounts, hundreds of millions of whatever, without sounding like 100 years old, trillions perhaps, of data sets that it can read. It can't tell you why they did it, I think is the major difference why I'm really fortunate the three of us and many of our colleagues and people who also work in the third sector will never be replaced by it, because it can show you the end result, but I would suggest, and the reason I do the job that I do, is that we need to find it out earlier than that. We don't want to have another lad of Jack's age who can't watch football anymore because he's got to the stage. I did exactly the same, by the way, in my very early recovery. For someone who watches every game that's on, for probably the first 18 months, I couldn't, because my brain had been trained into thinking I must gamble on it. So I think AI absolutely has its place. It needs to work in tandem with not just lived experience of harm, but lived experience of the industry, I think is really important. And that comes from whether it's the sporting events, the slot machines. At Epic, we work with some companies in design of them before they even are put on the market, to consult on it from the position of lived experience. And that's from marketing, we've just been doing some work with the National Lottery of Ireland. I know there's a couple of representatives here who are under FDJ UNITED's umbrella. Maris, you know my feeling on it is always collaboration is so important. Nobody knows the answer to everything, but people trying to solve the problem in different rooms we have proved doesn't work. So, we just need to get together closer, harness any positives we have, which I believe AI is a huge one of that,
And we're also seeing a shift in communication. I mean, I went through it and I'm in the older group, but like we don't answer the phone anymore. We text all the time. face-to-face meetings? No. As much as possible, work from home. There's that, almost distinct way of communicating. In Spellfriheten, twice in a row, very good. Obviously, you work a lot with young adults. Do you find maybe digitalization when it comes to interventions being better with the younger group?
Yeah, I would say that it doesn't matter if you compare with like the age preference. It's when you gamble a lot of what you have, and you feel the exact same shame and guilt. But the youngsters are so used to do the gambling from the cell phone or from the computer in that sense. So, for instance, going into a treatment session or a self-help group session, I think we can see a positive thing that it's easier for us to get the youngsters in their first meeting when it comes to the digital. But then overall, when you start going on like online sessions, we think at Spelfriheten that to combine both digital and physical meetings, that is the best part of rehabilitate from the addiction. Yeah.
And Jack, obviously your experience is quite enriching for us because we're much older.
Yeah.
Sorry, guys. But if there was something like perhaps an early intervention or something that could have picked up, what do you think might have actually helped?
Yeah, so probably like the best example of that for me would be when the first day, well, when I turned 18, I lost £5,000 in 24 hours. First day I could gamble. Obviously I'd gambled before, but that was the first time I could have bet online. So yeah, that probably would be the biggest example. Would be the first day I could gamble, there was £5,000 was gone in 24 hours. That probably would have been the best time for someone to pick up a phone and say, do you realize the consequences, and just have an honest conversation, because even though I was 18, I was still a young man, I was still naive, I didn't really have a concept of money, and yeah, that probably would have been the best time. But then kind of if you fast forward like 2021, kind of throughout the whole time I was gambling up to 24, I would not bet for a week or something. I'd get a couple of free bets, I'd place them, but I wouldn't be depositing any money into my account. And then the day I got paid, £2,800, for example, would be gone. The same 24 hours again, and there was the occasional phone call, but it was never consistent. And I think the thing is as well, like when you get these phone calls, they're not really building a rapport on the person. It's about building a bond with someone over the phone, even if you're not meeting them in person. It's about kind of being able to speak to them in a manner where they understand what's going on. Do you understand how much money you've lost? Like, is this going to have an impact? And that's the thing as well. Like, I know we've got different companies and everything now, and people bet on different sites and whatnot. But if you're betting with the same operator, to have the same person phoning you every time would probably make a bit of an impact, because you're building that conversation. You can gauge how they're talking. You're just building up something, and you're able to kind of make a click with them. So they're kind of times I feel that probably would have made an impact and probably could have stopped me getting to the the bad bits I got to anyway.
And feel free not to answer because it's away from the script, but I always do this. So obviously a call would have helped. What if, for example, the operator might have like limited you or made you withdraw money? What do you think would? Because honestly, I would be a bit angry if that happens.
Yeah,
I just go somewhere else. Would it have helped?
That happened to me like probably later on in my like gambling journey. Probably the last 2 years anyway. Was they started putting restrictions on, and I was kind of, it didn't matter who I was betting with. When I reached a certain limit, I was getting a phone call, the account was froze. So yeah, later on in life, I probably would have just went to another operator. But I think at the beginning, when I didn't really have access to loads of operators, I think that the initial steps would have helped massively anyway for kind of understanding what I was actually doing and everything else that came with it.
And I think that highlights, we've always said, prevention is the best. When it's too late, then obviously you get into a mindset that, it's very, very difficult to stop. The agency is within you to stop. Maybe a question for all of you. And I'll pick on Greg first, as always. If you had to redesign one prevention method, what would it be?
Nice, easy one.
Yes, and I thought I'll be kind to the others. And
Of
just
course you would, yeah. If I can refer to Jack, first of all, that also sounds like, it's just over 8 years ago since my last bet. And it's not every day that it frustrates me that I can't gamble anymore, but it's more days than not. I gambled for 25 years, more often than not, and for most of that time on horse racing, on football, sports that I knew, sports that I enjoyed, markets that I understood, gave value to the products and the sports that I enjoyed. The point that Jack made, I think, every time he was describing his, and Adam and I spoke briefly before we came on stage, education's the word that just keeps pounding in the back of my brain, and I mean that both as from a customer, but also from the teams who are speaking to the customers, also from the teams who are employing the teams that speak to the customers. And I know we're all banging the same drum here. So I don't make any apologies for saying it in rooms like this, but it's investment is what we need more of. We need people who understand the value of the customer in the first place. I've been very commercially driven all of my life. I've been very successful in commercial areas, in the car trade, in other areas. And the most difficult part of our business, and any business that you're in, whether you're selling Nike trainers, Coca-Cola, whatever it is to get someone to use your product. This industry is the acquisition of customers is incredibly costly in this industry. And I just think we're not really brave enough to look after them as quickly as we can. Because Jack shouldn't be sitting up here at his age, not being able to use this product ever again in his life, a sports fan that he is. And nor does he need it to be, really. The only bit, and again, this is my opinion, not the company I work for, but probably is echoed by everyone, because there's 27 of us within the 52 who work at Epic now, who are all lived experience from both sides of the Atlantic. And the one key theme that we have when we all get together in rooms like this is we all wish we could go and still have a bet again on the thing that we enjoy doing it on. So I wouldn't like to pinpoint, I'm not, contrary to a popular opinion, arrogant enough to think that I know the answer, but I see the results. Over the last 8 years, the work we've done, thanks to you and thanks to everyone from Kindred, formerly in FDJ, we've worked with over 2,000 members of the team of FDJ. We see the work that goes on, the calls that get made to people like Jack. People will always fall through the net, and I'm not saying that disparagingly because I was one of them. So a politician's answer to a question there that I don't have the answer exactly for it, other than to applaud what we're doing and just keep going forward, really.
Adam?
Yeah, I would say for in Sweden on a national basis, I would say also education part that we are actually doing, thanks to FDJ, and keep on working with the schools and talk about the risks of gambling on an early age, because when we do these questions, 16% had an education regarding gambling. 16%, that's quite low. And when we ask the question, have you had any kind of education regarding tobacco, alcohol, narcotics, it's like 100%. Mm-hmm. So that's a very important thing to do. And on like the gambling operators part, there is one thing that we are talking about, the operators that we have collaboration with, is to actually start doing a service that when the people who works with responsible gambling on the operator's part call up their clients that have riskful gambling, to actually have the opportunity to say, we have a collaboration with Spelfriheten or another organization that we can be able to, if you want, we can fix so a guy or a girl in the exact same age playing the exact same thing that you have done, who is now stopped gambling. They can give you a call in like 24 hours. Would you like us to transfer this contact. That is one thing that for sure had helped me if I got that opportunity when I was inside my addiction and active.
So if I can just add to that, it happens, we do it.
Yeah.
We've done it at Epic, we've done it not particularly for FDJ, but for other tier 1 operators. It's not a common thing. The numbers are difficult to be able to have enough people to do that, but in particular cases when they've sort of tried as much as they can do, you know, and I suppose it shows real value in trying to give your customer a fairly incredible service. Some of our senior team have actually rang on behalf of customers, and the results have been astronomical because they see you as a third-party person who, I'm not sure how this translates, so forgive me, doesn't have a dog in the fight. You know, you are completely neutral. Obviously, it would be wonderful if every customer who signed up to a new account had their own client manager. They can't. You know, this is why we need to harness AI, etc., as we do. But it's a wonderful idea.
Yeah, it's quite hard to top that, to be honest.
I was thinking the same thing.
I'll just try and take it from like an early perspective, from just like education and whatnot. Like Adam touched on, like drugs, alcohol, tobacco. These are all things that are installed into kids from probably like high school, whenever they walk in there. So I think that gambling's, again, it's something that's not spoke about enough, and kids need to start kind of getting a better understanding of gambling and the harms that gambling can have, but how fun it can be, but the levels that when the fun stops, like to say it's when the fun stops, stop, and it's about understanding that you can have things in place like deposit limits and self-exclusion, etc., etc., that these are available if you do feel like you're over, if it's got too much for you, because these are some things that I feel now in gambling that aren't really spoken about enough. And then when it does have a problem, it's not, oh, you're just putting another bet on a hat. Like, people find it not funny, but it's just so socially acceptable. And so yeah, early, and like the children knowing about gambling anyway. And then as well, I think it's from like a parent point of view, I'm sure anyone with children in here, they probably do feel like they need to know a little bit more about gambling, because you can be exposed, you can have like conversations with children, your own kids, and you're kind of portraying gambling in a way when realistically they might take that as a completely different outlook of your outlook, and they're probably still naive, and like I said, they're still learning. So kind of two things that probably need to be implemented a bit more.
Yeah, I mean, it never works to tell kids not to do something. So if someone tells me not to do something, I'll do it, like twice as much. Last question for the day. One sentence, Greg. One sentence. So, one thought, one misconception, or one challenge, or one policy to push for.
I would think as a thought, really, and Jack's made me reflect on it more. You know, we've got a colleague a similar sort of age at Epic who's went through it. I think the change has been quite dramatic. So when the problem, or it was more intent-based, I think, the idea of seeing whether I potentially was going to have a problem gambling. It's exposure is the problem, I think, now for the younger generation.
Good job.
Yeah, and I would say one of the big challenges the world is challenging is the thing with the gaming part, with the money part in the games, computer gaming and stuff, because a lot of the people searching help from us, a majority part tells that it starts with the game. They place money in their computer games or TV games, and then they lose the sense of money. And this kind of behavior they pull into when they start in traditional gaming, gambling. So how can you like stop those things on a regulate the market for the computer gaming and TV gaming with placing real money when you are actually quite young? That's something we have to work a lot more with.
Thank you. Jack?
I'm a wee bit stuck now. I'm just going to mention one thing I think that means a lot to me. So from everyone in here, if you've not got children, or if you have children, or some people might be lucky enough to have grandchildren, I think that Yeah, everyone in here has the possibility to make a change and to protect the next generation, because let's be honest, the way gambling's going, it could harm a lot of us. So I kind of just want you to look at it from an aspect of, if it was your son or your daughter or your niece or your nephew or anyone around you, like how you would feel if it was them in that situation. Unfortunately, my dad retired at 50, and I spent his whole pension gambling, and unfortunately he has to work away now, and the guilt that like he must have felt during that time must have been so hard. Like, sorry. Yeah, the guilt he must have felt, and not knowing that, like, if I was going to make it through, and him, like, as a father, and my mum and everyone around me, like, the impact it had on them, like, was so destroying. And yeah, I just kind of want you guys to look at it from, if it was your own, if it was people around you, and the like devastating impact it can have. Sorry, guys.
Well done.
That's all right. I think that's a beautiful perspective that we didn't even touch upon today, with affected others, and not just being an affected other, but how much we can impact other people. So thank you for sharing that. That's all we have time for today. I think they deserve a massive round of applause.
Thank you.
Thanks, Dane.
Marius, thank you very much, and thank you to our panel, Adam Reutersward, Craig Cornforth, and Jack Metcalfe. And Jack, thank you for sharing your experience so personally there. I'm sure you'll have touched an awful lot of people in the room today. Thank you all very much. And we have a prompt for you on your Mentimeter, and particularly in relation to the last points that Adam and Jack were making about the collaboration between the gaming companies and the gambling operators in terms of collaboration to reduce harm. So, yeah, I suspected that strongly agree would come out fairly well here, and indeed it has. I know a few of you strongly disagree, but not many. Should there be more collaboration between stakeholders in the gambling and gaming sectors to reduce harm? Strongly agree comes out comfortably in front. A few of you agree, some strongly agree, others neither agree nor disagree. I'd be interested to hear from anyone who strongly disagrees, if they're brave enough to take the microphone and just maybe explain why and put a different perspective on this. If not, then quite understand, you're entitled to your anonymity, but if anybody does want to contribute, now might be the opportunity. You don't, that's fine, it's not a problem, it's not compulsory. I thought I'd give it a go. I'm pleased now to welcome the Chief Executive and Chairwoman of FDJ United, leading the group's strategic transformation and international expansion, bringing senior experience across European regulation, consumer markets, digital responsibility, and public policy. Stephane Pallez. Stephane, good morning. Thank you so much.
Morning.
Come and take a seat.
Sit. Hello.
Thank you.
Good morning.
Thank you so much for having us here today in Brussels, Stephane. Obviously, since our last Sustainable Gambling Conference, the FDJ group has acquired the Kindred Group. FDJ United has acquired the Kindred Group. So you've also acquired this great institution. What do you make of it, first of all?
Well, first, it's great to be here and to see so many people in this conference. So it shows the importance of the subject and the success of having all different people getting together to discuss it. So I really enjoy being here today. As you said, we've been acquiring Kindred in 2024, actually. So we've been a new group, FDJ United, since this acquisition, and getting together to work on many subjects, and of course, including this one.
I'm just going to stop you there for 1 second, because your mic is just slipped a little. Let me help you there.
what can I do?
Well, I think we just move it a little up here. We might just need a little technical support from the back. If we could have our audio team could come and help Stephane out, that would be great, because I'm not sure I trust myself to
You're not
to multitask. I can do some sound engineering, but it's quite
Well,
delicately poised. So
It's
we'd
been
love
difficult. It's been difficult, obviously, because we tried to fix it already.
Sorry, there we go.
So
The technical gremlins are here with us in Brussels today. My apologies. What do we think? Does it feel secure?
I'm fine. I'm fine. Do you hear
You're
me?
happy?
Yep.
So we were saying it's a new opportunity for FDJ United to be involved in a venture like this, courtesy of the Kindred acquisition.
Yeah. Actually, of course, Kindred has been part of this conference for
A long
years,
time, yeah.
a long time. And when we were not still the owner of Kindred, we've been participating in the conference already. So it's a conference that we've been invited to. So in fact, I think it does illustrate the fact that between FDJ and Kindred, before we became one group, I think there is a lot of common view and a lot of common belief that it is an absolutely critical matter for the group to be a leader, to be part of those events, to share our ideas and to improve our practices, to compare our benchmark with others, to discuss with a lot of other stakeholders. And I think this is something that the two companies, in fact, did in the past, and that in this conference we have the opportunity now to do as one group. And of course, it's in the middle of this week, European Week for Safer Gambling. So of course, it's a very important week and a great event in that context.
Absolutely. And why did you choose Brussels as your destination today?
Well, I think the habit has been to go all over Europe for those conferences. Brussels is of course a great place for Europe and for all of us. And actually, we are also a licensed operator in this country. So I think this does make a lot of sense. I think we'll continue to move around because definitely FDJ United today is a European group. So I think we need to be able to understand and encompass all markets in the type of thinking that we have here today. So Brussels, and next year we'll see.
Why not?
Why not Paris?
Exactly. Safer Gambling in a Changing World is the title of this year's conference. It's changing at an almost frightening rate, as we've heard from some of our speakers already. We've heard some really, I think, mind-altering detail today about the way in which the online space, cyberspace, can have a significant behavioral effect. Why have you chosen this title for this conference today?
I think we believe that the issue, of course, of safer gambling has always been there. But I think today we definitely face new challenges in the way the market is operating, in the way the technology is offering actually new opportunities and new challenge, I think both to us as operators and to our customers. In the way also that illegal markets actually are growing, and maybe in a way that we didn't see for many years. So we believe that this very critical issue is definitely maybe more challenged today, and we need to embark all those changes to really understand how we can progress together.
And how do you react when you hear the testimony of lived experience that we've had a few moments ago, and indeed Dr. Aiken's keynote speech earlier? How do you react to this growing evidential link between young people, minors and young adults gaming, and then gambling to the extent that we heard from Craig and Adam and Jack there?
Well, unfortunately, due to I would say, imperfection, I was not able to listen to the first keynote. But what I got from what people told me about it is that it's really getting very much at the heart of one of the rising issue that we have today, which is the issue of vulnerability of those young people. Of course, we're talking about underage gaming, but we're also talking about young adults. And actually, I think today there is a lot of consensus to identify that, yes, there is a specific issue, a specific category, that has specific practice and habits that sometimes we don't understand and we don't completely take account into. And that as an operator, if you want to be a responsible operator, you need definitely to invest much more in that field, because it's going to be one of our challenges of today. So I was very interested to see one of the testimony that we've got. I think that's one of the characteristics of this conference, that you have that type of very, I think, honest and very true testimony. And I think that, is making us better to understand that we have, again, to face the fact that, yes, gambling can cause harm, and maybe in different ways also for young people today than it was in the past, because they live in a universe and they gamble into context that maybe we don't understand enough today. So we definitely think that we should devote more time, investment, and energy into that. And we
and does that include more manpower as well? More people, more human interaction. That's what I was picking up from that, is that you are so often gambling and gaming and operating in a space which is devoid of humanity, and therefore devoid of some soul. Is it going to help the likes of Jack and Craig and Adam and people who are like them to know that there is somebody real at the other end of the customer interface?
I think it's absolutely true that to know that there is human or other humans in the process is absolutely key. It doesn't mean that you have to have human at every step in the process. Actually, I think one of the great things about the evolution of technology today is that actually it gives us a lot of tools to understand more and more precisely the habits of everyone. And I think all about is personalization in this world, and particularly in our business. So I think if we find the right combination between data and AI and the tools that allow us to understand at which point people enter into dangerous zones, and at which point a human actually needs to intervene, I think that the best combination. But so I definitely think that human contact has a lot of value when you want to deal with a problem. But probably to get the human at the best moment in the right position with the right information, you need to invest also in data and analytics and AI, and this is what we do.
I want to talk about the black market and the dark web in particular, and just to praise Dr. Aiken briefly when she said that it's all very well being best in class, and to show your regulator how well you're doing and how sustainable you are and how much of a commitment you've got to warding off gambling-related harm. If the unlicensed sector is just galloping away completely unchecked, then it renders all your good work completely futile. So what are we doing about it, and how big a problem is it for you?
Well, I think it is definitely one of the most significant problems that everybody has. And of course, we, as we want to be only a regulated operator, operating only in licensed markets, and of course, best in class in terms of compliance and implementing the regulation, we absolutely face the issue that you described, which is that how can we be competitive and attractive to the customers, and at the end it is the customer that is deciding what he's doing. If the regulation, in fact, goes in a way where the black market is more and more attractive and nice and easy to access for the customer. So I think this is actually a common issue that we have to deal with the regulators, because I think there is a common interest for the regulators and us as operator to find the right balance in terms of regulation, not to make again the illegal market more and more attractive. And we definitely, I think, are aiming at the same objectives. But at the end of the day, the customer is in a position to choose what is best or what he finds easy and best for him. So this is, I think, a great challenge we face. And as we compare different markets, we see that according to the way regulators and operators are working together, you can actually have different results, different impact on the development of black markets. So at the end of the day, I think again it's a common problem that we have to solve together.
Last question, Stephane. What would you hope to achieve from today's gathering?
Well, as usual, I think one is, of course, to find new ideas, new proposals, because no one can invent everything itself. So I think we always have to learn from others' experience. So that's, of course, one. Second is, I think, finding new, I would say, new balance, new common objective through dialogue. Dialogue, I think, is the essence of our business and of our good regulation. So dialogue between regulators, but also with players, as we saw today, with experts that can bring us new perspective. And I very much believe in that. And we've been always, I think, at Kindred in the past and at FDJ United today, very much involved into intense dialogue with stakeholders, and really do want to build on that. And of course, meeting new people, because that's the best in life.
Well, it's lovely to meet you. Stephane, many congratulations.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Stephane Pallez, Chief Executive of FDJ United.